every citizen, be it GALA, be it anybody, as long as we are a citizen, we have a concern, our offices are always open. Our doors are always open. You don't need an appointment. Come and let us sit and engage and discuss our issues and solve it in an amicable manner as expected in any civilized democracy. That is what we want. So I hope that this today will open a new chapter in our democratic journey that will focus and promote engagement rather than confrontation. That will focus on solving our problems in our offices, in meeting rooms, in conference rooms, rather than in the streets. I hope that we are closing that chapter now, and now we are moving to engagement. And I give this challenge to GALA and every citizen, every youth, that government is aware of your concerns, and government is ready to work with you to resolve these concerns. We've opened our doors for engagement, and I hope going forward, engagement will be the appropriate action we'll take in dealing with our collective issues. On that note, I'd like to end here, and I'd like to call on the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs to come and read government's press statement in response to the GALA petitions. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable colleague ministers. In the interest of time, I stand on existing protocols and the media fraternity, GALA members here present. Before I delve into the statement proper, I will just re-echo the statement of the Honorable Minister of Information to emphasize that this is not us versus them. It's a collective responsibility. The action that has been taken by GALA is in the furtherance of public service delivery and to enhance accountability. And your queries have been adequately attended to. That's why you have almost half of cabinet here. And this is just a representation, but there was a lot of work that went into responding appropriately to the queries raised. I will indulge your patience because the questions deserve commensurate response, and the statement will be a bit prolongated, but that's just for the interest of time to emphasize the amount of work that went into this. And the statement is as follows. The Government of the Gambia's reaction to the petition from the Gambia against looted assets relating to corruption cases, transparency and accountability in public financial management and governance reforms. We thank you for your presence and your continued interest in the country's progress towards transparency, accountability, and sound economic management. This press conference is organized on the heels of the peaceful protests staged by Gambians against looted assets on the 23rd of July 2025. And the government received the petition in good faith, and as a responsible and responsive government, we are alive to the call made by the citizen seeking to safeguard our shared resources, thereby a call for public accountability and institutional integrity in the management of public resources. The GALA movement raised 3 issues to the government, and these are: 1, implementation of the parliamentary inquiry report, recommendations on the importation and sale of petroleum products valued at $30 million. 2, general update on the progress of audit cases involving corruption and fraud. 3, the implementation of the acute kidney failure panel investigation report. General remarks. Since 2017, this administration of His Excellency Adama Barrow has pursued comprehensive governance reforms across the political, legal, and economic sectors, which have been designed to consolidate democracy, fight corruption, and modernize the management of public resources. The results are visible. Our Corruption Perception Index, as published by Transparency International, score has improved from a score of 30 out of 100 in 2017, at which point our ranking was 130 globally, to a score of 38 out of 100 in 2024, the latest, with a global ranking of 96, meaning we've moved by 34 countries out of 180. This significant improvement is supported by new legislation such as Anti-Corruption Act and the Access to Information Act. The government has also pursued the introduction of a new constitution and has empowered our accountability and governance institutions, which ensures the realization of the clamor for justice and accountability in our public spaces. And also, the World Bank does conduct annual, what they call country portfolio and institutional assessment report. The report was just released July. We have ranked 3.2. We have 3 above the sub-Saharan African average, and this is the highest rating the country has ever realized since the ranking has started. This is not just a number, but it will go on to even increase the resource envelope the government will have from not just the World Bank, but other multilateral partners like the ADB. These are there. And also another scorecard is the MCC Millennium Challenge Corporation, which has ranked Gambia, and our ranking, I think we are number 5 in Africa. These are just score points, but these can all be researched on the internet and verified from the public sources. The fellow Gambians, allow me to highlight some of the key reform agenda introduced by this administration in the public finance management. A new public finance management bill is being developed to replace the existing one to modernize budgeting, expenditure control, debt management, and fiscal reporting. The first cut of this bill has gone through Cabinet, and the comments are now being incorporated for it to be reintroduced to Cabinet for onward transmission to the National Assembly. Also, we have enacted a new State-Owned Enterprise Act in 2023 to oversee the parastatals and improve the corporate governance. The SOE Commission will also support the planned efforts to strengthen budgetary processes and supervision of the SOEs. I think we have some early wins on these commission's output. The combined losses of some of these state-owned enterprises as of 2024 was about $2 billion in losses. As of June, the combined loss has been reduced by 50% and is now $1 billion. And we are on progress to transform these SOEs. I'm sure you are aware of the sanctions being imposed on some of the agencies. Some of them means pay cuts. For some, it requires travel ban for their chief executives. And these are all reforms that are undergoing. Efforts to improve integrity and transparency of the public procurement recruitment systems have been undertaken. A new Public Procurement Act, GPPA, has been adopted and supported by a rollout of an e-procurement platform shortly to reduce corruption risks, shorten procurement cycles, and enhance competition. The Gambia Revenue Authority is also making continued efforts to strengthen the internal processes. The GRA established an internal affairs unit and has developed the mandates, standards, operating procedures, and other policy documents to support operations. The GRA continues its digitalization effort by full automation of its processes in customs using the ASCUDA wall, and efforts are on the way to fully digitize the current domestic tax administration called GAMTaxNet into an integrated tax management system. I think on this one we all see the quantum leap our revenue performance have gone through recently. And just these are numbers that can be compared easily. We have seen GRA perform phenomenally thanks to digitalization. For the first 7 months of the year, GRA has clocked 15 billion. And this can be contrasted with the total revenue collected by GRA in 2022, just 3 years ago, when the total revenue collected was 11 billion. So in a nutshell, what GRA has collected in 7 months in 2025 exceeds the total annual collection of 2022, which was 11 million. The amendments to the Central Bank Act of 2018 strengthened the central bank governance and independence, which established a stronger foundation to further enhance the central bank governance and operation. A new banking bill has been drafted to modernize supervision, strengthen prudential standards, and improve risk management in the financial sector. To strengthen anti-corruption framework, the authorities have enacted a new Anti-Corruption Act, and the appointment of the commissioners of this commission is in progress. These reforms have not only strengthened the Gambia's public financial management framework, but have also translated into tangible benefits for citizens. Improved fiscal discipline, more efficient expenditure control, and stronger revenue administration have led to marked increase in government revenues at the GRA. Revenues increased from 7.79 billion only in 2017 to 20.85 in 2024. I was just giving the latest statistics of 2025, registering an annualized growth of 15.2% over the revenue collection period, or an increase of more than 162%. These funds have been channeled into visible projects such as upgraded roads, expanded energy access, modernized public facilities, and directly enhanced economic activities and the quality of life. The direct beneficiary of some of these efficiency gains are even in the civil servants' compensation. The regime has increased the compensation to the civil servants by more than 110% since 2017, and in the last 2 years by more than 60%. Today, nobody in the civil service is receiving anything below $6,000 per annum as a minimum. We have done 2 salary increases in the last 3 years. In 2022, we increased 30% across the board. In the last 2025, we increased the salaries by a wage bill increase of 30%, but some of the grades, this was cascaded. The lower grades have increases of more than even 70%. These are where these efficiency gains are channeled to. The digitization of the custom and tax administration, coupled with the rollout of the e-procurement platform, has streamlined the service delivery, reduced processing times, and improved public access to services. These technological upgrades, alongside a stronger anti-corruption framework, have increased the detection of fraud and financial misconduct, ensuring that public funds are used as intended. The combination of greater transparency, enhanced accountability, and more efficient systems have built public trust while enabling the state to deliver economic development more effectively. It is paramount to highlight that in addition to the public financial management agenda, this administration has also established a series of commissions of inquiry, including the JANIC Commission, the Local Government Inquiry Commission, and the Parliamentary Inquiry on Looted Assets. Furthermore, the government has intensified its fight against drugs, leading to a wave of arrests and prosecution, among other notable measures. The public is hereby assured of the Commission's finding that the Commission findings will be implemented to the letter, that the wheel of justice may be slow, but surely will roll out. The administration of justice, by its nature, comes with challenges. It is said that justice delayed is justice denied, but due care must be made to ensure innocent citizens' rights are not infringed in the process. Addressing the parliamentary inquiry on the importation and sale of the petroleum products worth $30 million, the government has submitted its response to the parliament, while noting the inquiry's conclusion that substantive allegations of bribery, money laundering, and tax evasion on the sale of petroleum product worth 36 million tons, valued at $30 million, could not be established. This was the conclusion of the inquiry. The key 4 primary bases of the inquiry, it was established, were not found. The government acknowledged the additional comments that the parliamentary inquiry produced, and revelations related to serious governance. These are like issues of governance and administrative issues were highlighted as additional output of the inquiry. The government acknowledged this inquiry's revelation related to serious governance and regulatory failures, pervasive non-compliance and financial, tax and corporate laws, and troubling disregard to due process by both public institutions and private entities involved in the transaction. As a result, the government informs the National Assembly of its commitment to upholding good governance, ensure enhanced systems of internal control, institutional strengthening, and its strong will to enforce the laws and regulations in the management of public resources. To that end, the government welcomed the work of the Parliamentary Committee and has taken note of its recommended reforms, stricter regulatory frameworks, and urgency to enhance interagency coordination to prevent the recurrence of such anomalies. As such, the government is committed to take decisive actions towards addressing identified currency transactions and sub-accounts managed by third parties to ensure that no such arrangement exists in the banking sector for the perpetration of illicit transactions. The GRA has issued best of judgment assessment to the two non-compliant petroleum companies, that is Creed Energy and Ultimate Beige Limited, in the sums of $8,576,716 and $12,296,923, respectively, and instituted a recovery process to ensure that they comply with the tax obligation. Recognizing the critical importance of a nationally accredited petroleum laboratory in safeguarding the product quality, environmental safety, and consumer protection, the Government of the Gambia has entered into an agreement with SICPA for the construction and equipping of a state-of-the-art petroleum testing laboratory under the auspices of the Gambia Standards Bureau. These initiatives represent a major step towards addressing petroleum quality assurance and aligns with broader national efforts to strengthen the petroleum sector infrastructure. Furthermore, the government also accepted the recommendation for further investigations and referred these to the relevant authorities for follow-up actions. This includes an independent criminal investigation should be conducted by the police into the conflict of interest and breach of fiduciary duties by the General Manager of GAM Petroleum. PURA, Gambia Competition Commission, should also conduct an audit exercise as regards the fairness in allocation of ullage between January to December 2023 by GAM Petroleum and the report of the National Assembly within 60 days. It is important to note that by the time Apoji came into the country, OMCs were not coming to GAM Petroleum for a protracted period, approximately more than 2 months, mainly because the traditional traders, Doza, Trafigura, and others had stopped bringing products to the Gambia since the missing stock saga of October 2021. The new management started negotiating with Trafigura since the assumption of duties by the new MD, that is Trafigura, and Trafigura resumed operations after being convinced of the positive changes in the depot and then signing a storage agreement with GAM Petroleum around the 4th of May 2023, and they applied for haulage of 5,000 metric tons ago and 5,000 metric ton PMS with an ETA expected time of arrival of mid-May, which was extended towards the end of May. By that time, Apoji had also come, and they were allocated haulage of 14,500 metric tons. For this space to have been there, logically proof that there was little activity in the depot. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice should constitute a panel to further investigate the conduct of concerned officers in the investigation into the report of the Financial Intelligence Unit and report to the National Assembly within 90 days of tabling this report. The committee recommends that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice constitute a special independent panel to investigate the procedure adopted by the police in investigating the STR against Mr. Orimos and the report to the National Assembly within 90 days of tabling this report. That the Attorney General initiate criminal investigation into Mr. Orimos and related parties for potential money laundering and financial crimes. In addition to these measures, the government is also addressing several ongoing cases of suspected fraud across the public institutions. And what we will do here is to just identify the case and synopsis of what the cases entail. There are about 8 of them. Case 1, that is the state versus Balakande, Omar Sise, and Mohamed Lamid Jaite. The details of this case is the case involves senior government officials, a former permanent secretary of Ministry of Health and a former program manager, National Malaria Control Program. They are charged with the offense of official corruption, economic crime, and other fraud-related charges. The prosecution has closed its case and it's now at the defense stage. Case number 2, that is the state versus Amisar and 5 others. This case involves staff of Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. They are charged with the offense of corruption and other fraud-related charges. The state has closed its case and it is now for the defense to start. State versus Usman Bahum and 4 others. This involves the staff of the Immigration Department. Accused persons are charged with offense of official corruption and other state-related charges. The state has called all its witnesses and the case is now at the defense stage. Case number 4, State versus Abasanya and Pamodu Job. This case involved former governor of the Central River Region and an accountant. They are charged with the offense of economic crime and other fraud-related charges. Prosecution is ongoing. Case 5, State versus Usura Chairman, 2 others. This case involves staff of the Ministry of Justice, Registrar General Department. The accused are charged to court for the offense of economic crime and other fraud-related charges. Prosecution is ongoing. Case number 6, State versus Jacqueline Kanti and others. The first accused is a staff of the Gambia Ports Authority and connived with bank officials. They are charged with forgery and other related offenses. The case is ongoing at the prosecution stage. 8, State versus Ibrahim Janko Koli and others. This case involves magistrate and 2 staff of the judiciary of the Gambia. They are charged with the offense of fraud and breach of trust and other offenses as well. The case is progressing before the court. Case number 8, State versus Bubakar SM Jobate. The case is against the former Director of Protocol of Foreign Affairs. He's being charged with fraud related to offenses in connection to diplomatic passport scam. Prosecution has been concluded, now awaiting judgment. Case number, I said 8, but actually the total number of cases is 13. I are on the number of cases at the beginning. Number 9, State versus Mansa Sumare and Ibrahim Assani. This case involves the protocol officer at the Office of Foreign Affairs and a driver at the State House. They are standing trial on fraud-related charges concerning diplomatic passports scam. The case has been concluded and now awaiting judgment. State versus Lamin Banda. The case is a police commissioner. He is charged with the offense of theft. The case is still ongoing before the court. 11, State versus Chorna Ocham and Babu Seka. The accused staff persons are NAWEC officials. They are being charged with the offense of official corruption. The case is progressing before the courts. 12, State versus Usman Jammeh. Usman Jammeh of GNPC, a pump attendant, was on duty in Bruceville Petrol Station in December 2022. In the middle of the night, he allegedly absconded with 1,162,607, which was the total sales for the day. Mr. Jammeh appeared in court recently and was charged with theft under Section 233 of the Criminal Offence Act 2025. Case 13, State versus Ibrahim Akrubali, GNPC Bansang Station. Ibrahim Akrubali was the supervisor and was suspected of stealing through official shortages in the tanks. He was suspended and the case is still pending internally. They are still waiting for legal advice on the next steps. Additionally, these are all in public discourse to put in the public media of the action taken by the government in addressing matters of corruption and financial malpractice. Additionally, with respect to the alleged fraud cases at the GPA rating unit between the periods of January 1, 2019 to 31st of December 2021, involving 9 staff members of the authority, alongside possible accomplices, including consignees and clearing agents. The police initially submitted a report to the Ministry of Justice for legal guidance. The ministry subsequently returned the file to the police, requesting further inquiry into specific matters requiring greater clarity. Following this directive, the police have since concluded their investigation in full and resubmitted a final report to the Ministry of Justice for legal opinion. It is worth underscoring that the entire process was first set in motion by a whistleblower within GPA, prompting the authority to undertake its own preliminary review before ultimately referring the case to the police for a comprehensive investigation. Meanwhile, the board has sanctioned that the GPA staff adversely mentioned in the police report are placed on administrative leave pending further actions. The suspects that were investigated by the police include Rakiba, Binta Sala, Kumbasar, Sohna Bojang, and Yan Dembenga. Moreover, with respect to the alleged fraud case at the GPPC, in the light of the allegation raised by the board chair regarding the suspected fraudulent procurement practices attributed to the managing director, the SOE Commission acted swiftly by placing the managing director on administrative leave and mandating the National Audit Office to conduct a thorough investigation into the matter. The National Audit Office inquiry is presently underway, and the government will determine the course of action regarding the managing director's tenure upon receipt of the final investigation. And another matter that's not captured in the report proper is the investigation and the Social Development Fund. The audit report has been concluded, and both the managing director and the finance director have been sent on the leave, and the Ministry of Finance is taking the necessary remedial action. Disciplinary investigation conducted by the PSC and the PMO. Section 28 of the PSC regulations mandate the Public Service Commission as the sole responsible authority in all matters concerning the disciplinary control of the public service, except for public officers whose disciplinary control have been delegated. When such reports are received, the Chairman of the Public Service Commission, in accordance with Section 53 thereof, may constitute an investigating committee. Following the advent of the new democratic dispensation in January 2017, the Public Service Commission was reconstituted and given free hand to execute its full mandate, including the mandate to ensure disciplinary control of the public service. Having taken the prescribed oath, commissions reaffirm its unwavering commitment to transparency, accountability, and rule of law. In recent years, the decisive disciplinary actions have been taken against public officers found to be involved in corruption, fraud, and abuse of office. These measures reflect the Commission's zero-tolerance stance on indiscipline and its dedication to restoring public trust in the civil service. To this end, the Public Service Commission successfully conducted investigations against public officers found to be involved in corruption, fraud, and abuse of office. The Commission has recently conducted these investigations in the following institutions. 1, Department of Fisheries, 2, Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Gambia Immigration Department, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Natural Resources. Investigation and the Department of Fisheries. On the 11th of July 2023, the Permanent Secretary Personnel Management Office submitted a recommendation to the Public Service Commission advising the Commission to initiate disciplinary proceedings against Adam Masane, Principal Fisheries Assistant at the Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources, and Natural Resources. Water Resources and Natural Assembly Matters. Mr. Sane was alleged to have been involved in a fraudulent act of validating catch certificates using the official seal of the Department of Fisheries. Having conducted a thorough investigation, the Public Service Commission concluded that Mr. Sane has failed to perform due diligence in the conduct of his duties. Mr. Sane himself confessed to the Commission that he made errors by way of stamping cash certificates without verification. This action by Mr. Sane constituted a serious lapse, thereby contravening the Civil Service Code of Conduct, which considers it a gross misconduct for failure by a civil servant to use best judgment in the performance of his or her duties. Consequently, Mr. Sane's services were terminated accordingly. Investigation conducted at the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, the Petroleum Commission, the Public Service Commission received a memo from the Office of the President via letter reference BCQ 59/251 dated 3rd April 2023 from the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, alleging that Mr. Mundaga Sala, Permanent Secretary at the said ministry, impersonated Pa Modusar, advisor to the Honorable Minister, and fraudulently registered 2 individuals as official nominees of the government to attend the Africa Energy Summit in London from 16th to the 18th of May 2023. Following the extensive interaction with Mr. Salah, he posited that it became clear to him in his interaction with one Kemo Sedi that he was involved in a hidden scam on behalf of the Logic Solution to acquire UK entry visa in favor of Mrs. Adama Masre and Sajad Jiba, staff of Logic Solution, who were fraudulently presented as staff of the Office of the President. This scam entailed an implicit offer to meet the cost of government boots to manage it in the event Ministry of Petroleum did not have the capacity. Mr. Salah's registration to attend any such conferences was also offered to be met by the Logic Solution, but approval for his travel and payment of his per diem and air ticket were to be the responsibility of the government. Based on the investigation and the established findings that Mr. Muntaga Salah had communicated with Kemo Sedi regarding the Africa Energy Summit, the investigation concluded that Mr. Salah was in violation of the General Orders 03103 and Section 4.4.8 of the Code of Conduct. Consequently, his services were terminated with immediate effect. Item 3, investigation conducted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Public Service Commission received a missive reference AMH/261/274 dated 3rd of January 2024 from the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, submitting a preliminary investigation report related to an alleged forged Gambian diplomatic passport and an appointment letter for one Dr. Enrique Caridad Angola Berrero. This preliminary investigation report highlighted that Mr. Seydou A.M. Ba, Assistant Superintendent of Immigration at the Gambia Immigration Department, was implicated in this fraudulent activity. As per the said memo, the Public Service Commission was requested to carry out a comprehensive investigation into the matter to establish the fact. In the light of the above request, the chairman, Public Service Commission, acted in accordance with Section 53 of the PSC Regulation 2013 and constituted a 3-member investigating committee. Following a thorough investigation into the issue, Mr. Seydou A.M. Ba confessed that he facilitated the production of both the police report and an affidavit, which are prerequisite for the creation of the forged diplomatic passport, as well as his failure to inform the relevant authorities after it became clear to him that the whole scheme was a scam. Therefore, the investigation committee concluded that Mr. Ba violated the Civil Service Code of Conduct by failing to use his best judgment in the performance of his duties, as well as concealing an attempt to steal, defraud, or commit an act contrary to the interests of the government. Consequently, the Commission decided to terminate the service of Mr. Ba with the Government of the Gambia. Item 4, investigation conducted by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The PSC also received another complaint about Mr. Sute Jao, former Director of the Department of Youth and Sports. The matter followed the Gambia's qualification for the AFCON 2023, which was to be played in Ivory Coast. As a result of this development, A training camp was organized in Saudi Arabia from the 1st to the 9th of January 2024, and Mr. Sute Jao, Director of Youth and Sports representing the ministry, was identified as the impress holder for the payment of players and technical team. In the light of this assignment, Mr. Jao was given an impress of 14,550,000, equivalent to 194,000 euros. Upon return of the delegation, Mr. Jao submitted a report to the Ministry of Youth and Sports stating that the entire impress amount had been retired. He claimed that the remaining funds were used for transit hotel, food and beverages. However, the players later informed the Ministry of Youth and Sport that they did not receive any refreshments during the 6 to 7 hours transit at the airport in Morocco. When the Permanent Secretary requested an explanation and a detailed expenditure report with supporting documents from Mr. Jao, he claimed to have duly retired the funds to the AFCOM subcommittee, but the committee chairman confirmed that there was an outstanding amount of 12,500 euros, equivalent to 937,500. Against this background, the PSC conducted an investigation into the matter. The conclusion of the investigation revealed that Mr. Jao has accepted and took responsibility for the missing funds amounting to the 937,500 or equivalent of 12,500 euros. In the light of his admission of guilt, the PSC demoted Mr. Jao while requiring him to refund the unretired impress of 937,500. Mr. Jao has since completed that payment, and the Commission is awaiting the confirmation of the full payment from the National Sports Council. Item 5, investigations conducted by Gambia Immigration Department. I warned you it's a bit long, so I'm sure you'll bear with me. The PSC conducted 2 investigations at the Gambia Immigration Department relating to the allegations of corruption and fraud. The case of Bakari Njai, Superintendent of Immigration. The Public Service Commission received a preliminary investigation report from the Permanent Secretary, Personnel Management Your Office on the 27th of January 2025 regarding an allegation that Mr. Bakari Njai, Superintendent of Immigration, collected an amount of $30,000 from one Ismaila Tunkara in return granted him bail with a promise that he was going to talk to the magistrate at Brikama Magistrate Court to influence his sentence if found guilty. Mr. Tunkara was caught by the immigration officials at the Banjul International Airport and taken to court for using someone else's passport with the intention of traveling. The investigation concluded that Superintendent Bakari Njai took the monies but was compelled to return the monies to the rightful owner through the intervention of the Gambia Immigration Department senior management at the Banjul International Airport. In the light of the foregoing, PSC concluded that the action of Superintendent Bakari Njai constituted a gross misconduct, and the Commission therefore approved the termination of his services accordingly. The case of Musa D. Sanyang, Deputy Superintendent of Immigration. The PSC conducted an investigation into the allegation of issuance of machine-readable passport to one Mbemba Drame. At the conclusion of the investigation, it was concluded that Deputy Superintendent Musa D. Sanyang was the person who facilitated the issuance of non-biometric passport to Mbemba Drame after jumping bail and fleeing the country. He was thus found to have failed to exercise due diligence given his capacity as the systems administrator. In view of the findings and conclusion, the PSC decided to dismiss Deputy Superintendent Musa D. Sanyang from services of the Gambia government on the grounds of his fraudulent conduct. 6. Investigation conducted at the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. At the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, the Commission received a complaint about one Mr. Lamin Bajo, the Regional Forestry Officer at Lower River Region. At the conclusion of the investigation, it was established that Mr. Bajo had failed to obey the instruction given by the Honorable Minister to allow the disposal process to proceed, thereby leading to the disappearance of the 2 illegally felled mahogany trees in Kayab village, thereby causing an economic loss to the state to the tune of $40,000. In the light of the above conclusions, and given that Mr. Bayo had violated the Code of Conduct of the Civil Service, the Commission decided to terminate his service with the Government of the Gambia. In addition to the above, the Commission has recently dealt with a number of other disciplinary cases involving public servants, some of which resulted in such disciplinary actions as demotions, reprimand, redeployment, and compulsory retirement. Investigations into the following cases have been completed, and the case files have been transmitted to the Attorney General's chambers for legal review, advice, and possible prosecution. Banjul City Council, Gambia Ports Authority, Brikama District Hospital, Gambia International Airlines, Sub-Saharan Africa, Women's Empowerment and Demographic Dividend, PLUS, Sweat Plus Project, Independent Electoral Commission, City Link EU Project, Osten Project, Central Bank of the Gambia Investigation, COVID-19 Investigation Phase 1, Procurement and Distribution of Food and Medical Items, COVID-19 Audit Investigation Phase 2, Payments to Tourism Workers and Tourism Institutions and Media Relief Support Package. The post-audit police investigation into the following cases are ongoing. 1. Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, suspicious transaction report on SDF, which I reported earlier, audit has been concluded. GT Board, Ecotourism and Contractual Issues, COVID-19, Audit Investigation Phase 2, Payments to the frontline workers and the distribution of medical items outside the Greater Banjul area. While these investigative actions demonstrate the government's determination to ensure accountability in all spheres of public service, we recognize the delay in completing the investigation and would endeavor to support our accountability institution to improve on the delivery of service to enhance speedy justice. As I have just told you, one of them was concluded. So in a nutshell, this is the first response, the first of the two of the first response that GALA has requested, and we have given a very elaborate description of the course of action government has taken. Now we will go on to the third element, which is the petition on the AKI acute kidney injury to His Excellency the President of the Republic by GALA. The Gambia experienced terrible tragedy of the case of contaminated syrup imported into the country in 2022. The death of several children was registered due to the consumption of the Indian manufactured syrups, which caused acute kidney injuries. The President took a swift action and authorized the suspension of the license of the importer and the pharmacy, that is the Atlantic Pharmacy, and through the Medical Control Agency further blacklisted the Indian drug manufacturer, Medium Pharmaceuticals, and banned all its products on the Gambian market. Additionally, the President further directed that the government work with the Government of India to bring about justice to the victims of this heinous crime. His Excellency further instructed that the suspected pharmacy owner and importer of the syrups into the country, as well as senior officers of the Medicine Control Agency, be arrested and investigated. He further directed that a panel of investigation, both by the police and the administration, be established to ensure that this incident never recur. The National Assembly also launched an inquiry into the matter and made recommendations. Let me update you on the efforts and progress so far on the implementation of the resolutions of the National Assembly. 1, protecting the public health through stronger regulation and oversight. The Ministry of Health and the Government of the Gambia have undertaken appropriate steps to establish National Medicine Quality Control Lab, which is nearing completion. The necessary equipment is also being procured. The Ministry of Health and the government recognize the importance of the Medicine Control Agency's functioning as an independent, autonomous corporate body based on international best practice for medical product regulation. The government is committed to working with the partners to provide the necessary resources for MCA proper authorization. Currently, the government is reviewing the Medicines and Related Products Act of 2014 and will ensure that the MCA operate as an autonomous independent entity. 2, preventing further tragedies through systemic reforms. The MCA has already blacklisted made-in pharmaceuticals and banned all its products on the market in Gambia. Since 2023, the MCA has been building the competence of its staff on good manufacturing practice, inspection through support from partners like the World Health Organization, NEPAD, and NEPAD. Since 2023, MCA have started GMP inspections to India, China, and Pakistan major pharmaceutical companies supplying medicine to the Gambia. The good medical practice inspection has international standard prescribed by the WHO and differs from a mere on-site factory visit. MCA is fully implementing the registration of medicines and related products across the board, including products from the Ministry of Health, the mandatory legal requirement for registering all medical products as recommended by the National Assembly Select Committee on AKI report. Currently, the compulsory registration is limited to medicines and related products not manufactured or produced in countries considered to have a stringent regulatory authority, SRA, and such as USA and the European Union countries. MCA also enforces strict quality control, testing for all medicines produced in countries outside SRA. Since 2023, MCA has introduced pre-shipment inspections and testing through several independent accredited quality control laboratories in India, China, Pakistan, and Ghana to assess all medicines before they are shipped to the Gambia. In 2024, MCA appointed full-time inspectors stationed at Banjul International Airport, Banjul Seaport, and most official land border entry points nationwide. MCA also collaborates strategically with all stakeholders, especially security services, to ensure effective control of illegal cross-border trade in medicines and other medical products. With the government support, MCA plans to increase the number of inspectors at points of entry and regional access points across the country. Strengthening of the national capacity and accountability. The government has established a school of pharmacy under the University of the Gambia and has conducted admissions for the first batch of students for 2025 academic year. The Pharmacy Council of the Gambia is regarded as a very important health regulatory body, and the Ministry of Health and the government, through the current review of the Pharmacy Council Act of 2024, will ensure that it is adequately empowered and independent for its effective and efficient operations. Legislative process is initiated for the introduction of a mandatory real-time digital traceability system for all pharmaceutical outlets across both the private and public sectors. Once enacted, a track and trace system will be in place from the manufacturer throughout the supply chain to the consumer. If that comes through, I think the issue of missed drugs or unavailability of drugs in our public facilities would be significantly reduced. Justice, compensation, and the healing for victims and families. The case is currently before the courts, and the court's ruling will determine the government's further actions regarding justice, compensation, and the healing of victims of the families. The government is working with the Indian authorities to file a case against the Indian pharmaceutical firm that exported the killer syrup to the Gambia. Legislative reforms and institutional oversight. The Ministry of Health is reviewing the amendment bill on the medicines and related products. This process will conclude soon and will be submitted to the National Assembly for enactment. I think it has been a long session. It was sort of like a marathon, but we are now concluding. Ladies and gentlemen, these reforms, both across our public finance systems and in the petroleum sector, represent a decisive step forward toward a modern, transparent, and accountable state. The Government of the Gambia remains committed to implementing these measures in full and will report progress to both the National Assembly and the general public, while acknowledging the incidences and the negative impacts of corruption on our society as it undermines the development, security, and human rights and rule of law. This administration is committed to combating corruption by all means necessary. To do that, I call upon active participation of all citizens, civil society organizations, the press, the youth groups, and members of the diaspora to join hands with the government in this important endeavor. Let us work together to build a future where justice prevails, where the wounds of the past are healed, and where the potentials of these nations will be realized. I thank you for your kind attention, and thanks to my colleague ministers. Thank you.
Another round of applause for the Honorable Minister. As part of the bad punks of democracy to quote Condoleezza Rice, I can see some of you are dozing off in this era of the massive media, when the boundary between cold and hot media, as Macron said, is diffused. The concentration and consumption level is almost saturated. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, Honorable Rohit John Manja, Honorable Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Dr. Habibatul Drami, the Attorney General Minister of Justice, Honorable Daure Jallo, Honorable Chief of Staff and Minister of Presidential Affairs, Honorable Minister of Information and Media Broadcasting, and Honorable Ministers, Senior Government Officers, Media, Environmental. Who else from the Environmental? Yeah, already acknowledged our presence here. Yeah. Allow me to paraphrase or contextualize the Minister's speech. He made reference to 2017. For us to measure our progress, it's important to look behind to know what we are. And then it's part of human nature not to appreciate our successes. We are always inclined to make noise around the negativities. It's part of human nature. But as people of faith, we take wisdom from the Quranic word, which says, Surah Al-Ma'arij, Inna l-insana khuluqin haluwan, Iza masawul sarru jazwa, wa iza masawul ghayru manuwa. From before 2017, it was sarru jazwa, all the noise about the hardship, depression. But since 2017, under the leadership of President Barrow, it has been easy, ghayru manuwa. But all the achievements that the minister has highlighted are not being given due attention because it's part of human nature. However, as we move to answering questions, we have to understand as we are guided to always be steadfast in our testimony. And government has been steadfast in our commitment to democracy, in our commitment to dialogue, as clearly elaborated here, in our commitment to credibility, consistency, and clarity. And with these words, I would like to open the floor. It's going to go as follows. Fatimata, the Communication Officer, Minister of Information, Media, and Broadcasting Services, will be assisted by Aisatu. Fatimata is on the right-hand side. Aisatu will be around. Feel free to ask questions in our national languages. One question at a time. Your name, media organization. You need to raise your hand. Then after, we are going to continue interacting. So I'm sure that we'll all follow the rules. There might be one or two aberrations, but at the end of the day.
Okay, I didn't want to, because I know the other outstanding here. Okay, first of all, thank you. My name is Joseph Taylor, journalist for Askanwi Media, Gambian citizen, and a spokesperson for Bonsabova. I just wanted to clarify, because in your press invitation, you said it's open for the media and members of GALA. And now you're saying almost something different. And I think the minister was actually saying that it's open for GALA. And it is this particular engagement.
GALA is here.
Yes, they're here. Yeah. So they're also free to ask questions because I think you were...
Yeah, GALA is invited. We go by the spirit of the letter. Fine. And at the end of the day, if there are some professional questions, I mean, you are journalist GALA. Yes. I mean, you can ask on behalf of GALA.
Yes.
But anyway, no?
It's okay.
Or how do we allow? We'll allow them to ask. Okay, they are invited here.
Only one person, Omar Saibu Kamara.
Umar Saibu Kamara. Okay. All right. Okay.
I just wanted to make that clear because I saw the invitation.
Now we go by the content of the letter.
Okay.
That will guide us.
Okay. So basically, I have a series of questions, but since I'll allow some of my colleagues an opportunity. First of all, thank you very much for organizing the press conference. My first question goes to the heart of, I think, the repeated engagement, which is trust, to build public trust. And you did say that the youth should, or the GALA, should take from the streets and come to the conference room so that they can engage in meaningful dialogue. I think that would be good. But how can that take place whilst 23 youth are currently, you could say, being incarcerated or still going to jail? They are still charged with this, which we know the police is, of course, under the executive branch. Is this government really serious about building public trust with the intent? Are they ready to drop those charges so they could go into that conference room with open mind and have a real open dialogue? Or are you just saying that? I do have lots of questions. So,
we'll come back to one at a give chance. Let's give chance to others and then the chief of staff.
Thank you. We're just not saying or putting out the call or the invitation for sake of just making a call. We are sincere about this. In the first instance, and I think in a democratic setup, while protest is allowed, it's legitimate, but there is also a process. And I think protest should be the last resort. Because what we can win and achieve on the boardroom or around the table, we would maybe possibly have the same outcome on the streets. So why don't we start with in the boardroom and have an open and transparent dialogue? Government is sincere with this call, and like I said, we would have preferred a situation where the movement submitted a public petition. It's prescribed, there is a process, there is a way, and government would have done exactly what we are doing today. And like I said, the protest, whatever the outcome of the protest, the desired objective is a peaceful, transparent, corrupt-free, where possible, Gambia. Let's dialogue, let's discuss this. It's a possibility. We are on the same page, like the minister has said. It's not us versus them. We are one state, we are one entity, we are one Gambia. With respect to the case, maybe Attorney General will speak to this. It's just a process that the state had to take. But I believe ultimately when the dialogue space is open and is accepted, then your recommendation will come into play. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and first name, media organization, and thank you, Chief.
Okay, Jamie, let me to do Ahmad Kere. Okay, maa ngi tudd Amath from Paradise TV di jaajëfal déwén ci dem jot a leeral fii ci kees yi nga xam ne jot na koo tudd dafa naa mën na ci fukk ak ñett ci liy jot yi mooy ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk ci Ministry of Health dafa naa ñoom rek ñoo demagum fi nga xam ne moo nekk court yéen yëpp biñ dégg mooy ñu ngi def gëstu dem nañ yóbbu nañ ñi lii kañ leen séntu ci ñoom ñi nga xam ne tudd leen leen pour ñu leen teew fa ma xam ne doy na benn pour ñu àtte
Madam Minister of Justice, feel free to answer in Wolof or any other language.
Good morning. I think we're still in the morning. Ma tontu la si wolof ndax ma wax ko angale si wolof. Ni ñoo liggéeyee si gestu tuumal yooyu mooy police yi ñoo dee commencé investigation bi ñoo dee gestu mbir mi. So police yi dañ ko dee gestu ñoom buñ gestoo ba pare ñu yónni file bi si suma office mooy the Attorney General's Chambers and the Ministry of Justice. ñun nag suñ jotee file bi yu baree dee ñëw lii suñ liggéey mooy ñu gëstu evidence yi nga xam ne yooyu la police yi am si file bi li dee yàggal affaire bi benn ñaar ba different reasons yi dee tax a file bi di yàgga either at the level of investigation or si ñun pour analyse file si man suma side mooy benn pour gëstu evidence yi ba nga am enough evidence buy support alleged charges yi sometimes daf dee jël time because every evidence bu police yi def si biir file bi including su fekkee ne audit la lii yëpp danga ko war a gëstu bu baax a baax because am nañu a lot of experience bi nga xam ne dañ dee yàkkamte ñu dem si court bi ñu lose case bi either because amuñ sufficient evidence nag dafa war a doy su ma ko wax si angale sufficiency bi dafa nekk in quantity ak quality suñ amul enough evidence liñ dee def mooy ne dañ dee delloo file bi baax si police bi ñu wax leen fuñ yaakaar ne foofu la gaab si nekk then ñu def further investigation so some of these cases yi nga xam ne ñu ngi leen a laajte su fekkee ne seet nañ trafic bi dinañ gis ne dem nañ si police yi ñëw na justice dellu na police ñëw na si ñun because anytime suñ gestoo file bi suñ gisee gaps dañ ko dee send back to the police ñu wax leen ne there are gaps ñu delluwaat gestu port authority file bi si la bokka ak yeneen file anytime su Ministry of Justice formé opinion ne am nañ sufficient evidence pour support charges yi naturally dinañ file indictments so am na yoo xam ne ñu ngi leen a file fu mu nekk nii am na yoo xam ne ba léegi evidence yi ñu gis si file yi doyanguñ ñu so dañ ko dee delloo si police yi ñu def further investigations so loolu lañ toll waaye bu ñu amee any file boo xam ne gis nañ fa sufficient evidence pour charge benn file du fanaan si Ministry of Justice we'll file all of them bépp boo xam ne filanguñ ko that means the legal opinion bi moo form opinion ne sufficient evidence nekku fa pour sustain charges yi da nga leen a war a understand ne lépp luñ fa nekka tuumal la te tuumal boo demee court yow mi tuumal ki nga tuumal yow yaa ko war a prove beyond reasonable doubt these are criminal charges it's not just proof but you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt so when we don't have sufficient evidence we don't go to court. There is no attempt on the side of the Ministry of Justice or the state to cover or protect anybody. Once investigations are done, we investigate, we evaluate the evidence. If we are not satisfied, we send it back for further investigations. Bobula, I'm put on to Silot at the moment.
Thank you, Honorable, for elaborating the culture of due process that we are safeguarding in this country, in our beautiful motherland. You have a question? Name, media organization.
Yeah, my name is Ali Jallo. I work for the Family Network. I have two questions. I'll put it in brief. One, okay. So, my question is the recent arrests on the GALA and Team Saboba were based on the fact that they assembled unlawfully without authority, which is in the Public Order Act. We want to know what is the executive commitment in trying to reform the Public Order Act, which was instituted during the colonial days. And we've also seen from what the Minister of Finance made mention of some of the corruption allegations that the government is taking to eradicate corruption. We've seen people with $30,000 being dismissed from their public spaces, and we've cited a case involving $950,000. The individual was just demoted and allowed to pay. Isn't that selective justice in the way you administer justice? Thank you.
Two questions. One for you.
What is the Public Order Act? What are the other plans?
And the other one is? Public Order Act.
The Public Order Act is not the only piece of legislation that is colonial legislation we inherited. Our laws are still full of legislations that are old, but the usability of the legislation is not necessarily only based on the time or the duration or how old a piece of legislation is. We're still using a lot of legislations that are colonial or even post-independence. Yes, Public Order Act is one of them. It has been challenged, and we commend civil society. It has been challenged at the ECOWAS Community Court by some Gambians to declare some aspect of the Public Order Act as violation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. ECOWAS Community Court delivered a different judgment. They disagreed and they said it is not against the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. It was also challenged before our own Gambian Supreme Court and the constitutionality of the Public Order Act. And the Supreme Court again said that the Public Order Act is not unconstitutional. So the legality or the constitutionality of the Public Order Act is settled. Now, whether we want to maintain it in our laws or we want to remove it, this is an ongoing dialogue, and government is free to be engaged to this discussion. That's what I can say at this stage.
I have a follow-up on that.
No problem.
It's specific to this. This government, since 2017, you said there has been a lot of reforms.
Use the mic.
When this government...
Wait, they're giving you a mic.
Sorry about that. I have a follow-up on this specific question. This government came since 2017, and one of the promises was exactly this public order. One of the promises was exactly to repeal and reform bad laws like this Public Order Act that has been used, weaponized by the security forces, leading to the death of Solo Sende. All right? This is a very dangerous bill in that regard. So, the government of President Adama Barrow, since 2017, made some of these promises, coalition. Not only that, the TRRC has come out with recommendations for this government to review and address this Public Order Act. Your government, under you, wrote the white paper and said you promised that you would look at it and review it. What do you say now? I mean, you need to tell Gambians something because it could lead to a state of national security in this country.
Just take it easy. The legislative reform agenda of this government is huge. And those of you who follow the developments in the National Assembly will see the volume of legislations that are being submitted every session in the National Assembly. So we have a very ambitious legislative reform agenda, but this is a process, so it's an ongoing one. Which one? No, somebody will answer to that. So I was just dealing with the public order.
With respect to the concern about selective justice, right? Yes. The nature of the cases are different. There are those that are outright theft, the planning, the executions, and even when confronted with the facts, there was denial. So it was deliberate. And the conclusion led to only one thing, misconduct. So then those decisions were taken. In the case, maybe termination or dismissal in some cases. Now, in this instance, the gentleman claimed that the money were used during transit. So when he was confronted, because the players themselves said no, we were not given any such things. But he plus few other testimonies that suggest that he might have used some, but the commission did not believe it. So it was a lie as far as the commission was concerned. Now, this was an interest. So he hadn't planned to steal. It was a legitimate money given for specific purpose. He conducted the purpose, but in the process also lie about it. Okay, the intent might have been there, but again, like I said, he did indicated that he had used some of the money. And he presented his defense at the commission, presented some facts, but the general conclusion was that this is not believable. We are going by our assertions, and that is the money was not used, as you said. Now, the report of government or the recommendation of the commission was, okay, first step, return this money. And the money was returned. All right? So, and then what is the consequence? Next step, then they recommended for demotion, and that was also done. Now, again, if in the case is still being reviewed, but at the moment that is where the case was. The primary objective of government was to recover every budget of the funds, and that was done.
But looking at the magnitude of the two opposite amounts in the two cases here, this could be considered as selective justice, given the fact that probably the man in question might be close to the government. $30,000 to $950,000. You made mention of the intention to lie. He already lied. And somebody who just collected $30,000.
No.
It doesn't make logic to actually terminate his services and leaving the other person to pay. Couldn't that strategy also be applied on the other person to also recover? Because $30,000 might take him probably just a month or so.
Thank you for that. I think where you are getting it wrong is you're looking at the figures. You're not looking at the circumstances itself. That's the fact. Every case is unique. Every case, you look at the circumstances. And you weigh the circumstances in terms of intent, there are so many checks. It's not the amount you only check. You're just focusing on 9730. No. That is not the way law works. That is not the way justice works. No, what I'm saying is that you need to understand the particulars of the case itself. You don't look at the figures. Don't look at the figures. Even if you go to the criminal justice system, two people will commit the same crime. They'll free one, and they'll convict one. So that's not the way justice works. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the cases are in public domain. You can read and then make your own independent comparative analysis. It's better than, perception and assumptions. Now we go to the other side.
We take one from here.
Oh, all right. Okay. He has been on the waiting list longer. Oh, okay. After him, then you move to yours.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, honorable ministers and everyone here present. So first, GALA will do a response after we receive the statement officially, and we also raise questions. But quickly for clarification, first I just want to clarify that the Honorable Minister of Justice said the Public Order Act is constitutional, yes, but it's not aligning with the best practices, so we clear that. No, just a clarification. Okay.
He said, come sir, you ask questions.
Yeah, I'll ask questions. I'm doing it, I'm setting a perimeter, just to say that it can be constitutional, but not aligning with best practice, especially human rights practice, so we can get rid of it, even if it's constitutional. My first question reads, the statement you said the President have ordered for arrest and prosecution of perpetrators in the AKI. This is 2022. How far with the arrest and prosecution? Who are the individuals, and how far is that going? We want specifics so that we are clear in what we do. Two, the two ministers and the director of Gambia Petroleum that are involved in the petroleum saga. I'm sure the investigation goes on. We should start setting penalties before investigations end, otherwise delay for justice will always happen. What is happening to them? They are still in cabinet, and then the DG is still in Gambia Petroleum. Second, why does the government have to wait until victims struggle in court every day before they can take action and then deliver justice for the AKI? The government should not wait for the court. We went to the court because justice was delayed. Justice should have been done before struggling in the court. Thank you. Perhaps GALA will respond.
Thank you. You want to?
For you can, where is the person who was asking the question? Yeah, so if I miss out something, you can refresh my memory. On the AKI, the head of the Medicine Control Agency was dismissed. I'm not sure whether the public is aware of that. You're aware. The representative of the victims' families started negotiations with government. There were exchanges and offers made. Are you with me? Yeah. So there was a dialogue that started. Offers were made for compensation. They were torn down, and then they chose to go to court. Now, the nature of the AKI incident, I wish my colleague, the health minister, was here. I'll speak the area where the legal issues are concerned. My office contacted a law firm in the United States that are specialized in, you can say medicine, because some big law practices have different specialization. These ones have a big practice with respect to pharmaceutical law. So we were working with them, trying to see what remedies could be available to us even internationally. As we speak, the ambassador of the Gambia in India is actively working on having clearance from the government of India for a delegation from the Gambia to travel. The delegation appointed by His Excellency includes the foreign minister. It started during the time of the former foreign minister, the health minister, and myself, because I've been informed to be on standby to be on that mission. So there is a bilateral engagement that is also underway. But of course, some of these things, you need to understand, they hardly can move as fast as sometimes we want them. But locally, as a government, the task force did their work, they did their recommendations. Some aspects of the recommendations were implemented, and some aspects are still awaiting the implementation. Including in their recommendations is reform of the laws. And the reform of the laws, a consultancy is currently underway that is reviewing the entire legal framework, the medical system. Not only medicine and pharmaceutical laws, but they are reviewing the whole laws of the Ministry of Health. And this process is underway. The consultancy is very advanced, I'm aware, because I'm following, because the consultant also talks to me. So a greater aspect of the recommendations done by the task force with respect to the AKI is underway. But this is government. And if you belong to civil society, you need to understand, if you are on the other side, there are things that you want to move in certain ways. In government, things don't move that way. Certain things have procedures, and they have to follow those due processes. Your second issue was with respect to what? Now, the two ministers with respect to the parliamentary resolution. You need to understand first resolutions of parliament. They are recommendations on government. They are not binding in their nature. Best practice this determines that we work with parliament and see how they are implemented. But with respect to the two ministers, Parliament did not recommend to the President to remove them. They recommended censure. Censure is a parliamentary process that has to be initiated from within Parliament itself and be implemented by Parliament, not the executive. And censure must be based on proven evidence. So Parliament needed to initiate a petition from within the Parliament that will be signed by members, and that petition will be served on the President, and the President will serve the two ministers concerned. 2 weeks after the date of the censure and the petition is served, there will be a debate in Parliament, and the grounds of the censure will be debated. And those ministers concerned are entitled to reply. They are entitled to respond, because these are still allegations. They will reply, and Parliament will take a vote. And then when the vote is carried, then the censure succeeds. If the vote is not carried, the censure fails. Remember, we all yearn for rule of law in this country. We cannot just say that somebody is accused of something, therefore we act. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt. They are entitled to respond. They are entitled to their side of the story. That's what we all cried for. And this can happen to any one of us. We can be a victim of any allegation. Are we saying once somebody is accused, the person is not entitled to defend himself or respond or reply? So the censure that is recommended in the resolution, if Parliament wants, it's an independent organ of government. They can initiate the censure process against the said ministers. So, but the resolution, I think most of the press statement that was read here today is in response to some of the key contents of some of those resolutions, which you said you will respond to, isn't it? So this dialogue can continue and it can go on further. There's a 3 issues I took. What was the 3rd issue?
That issue was just to tell you that the Public Order Act is constitutional but amendable.
Of course, any law is amendable. Nobody's disputing that. But you raise human rights. We need to get things right. If we have to dialogue, we have to dialogue honestly.
Right.
The ECOWAS Community Court of Justice tested our Public Order Act against the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which is the African standard of our Human Rights Charter. You know about that judgment?
Yes, I know.
You read it?
Yes, I read the judgment.
So,
however, you see, that is the thing with the court. I'm not a lawyer, but that's the thing with the court. The court may make a judgment based on certain principles and evidence. That doesn't deny the fact that human rights, protest or peaceful assembly is a fundamental human right. So any other law or bylaw must not be used to censor it. That's where the conversation should be. Party laws aside, honorable. Let's just see that it should be, let's amend the Public Order Act.
like I said,
let the dialogue start from there.
All right, that's fine. Government is willing to talk about this. Anything that can be dialogue. Nothing is off the table. As long as we are talking, we can talk. How do we even amend it? What do we amend it? What do we agree to disagree? These things can form part of the dialogue. Nobody is saying it cannot be discussed. But if we have to discuss, we have to discuss from a frank point of view. You cannot tell me something is illegal that I know is not illegal. And I agree just because I want to dialogue with you. All right then.
Thank you very much. I said, let's be considerate. Again, as we said, Honorable Minister said, audi alteram partem. We want to promote that principle of quality before the law. We are hearing. Your name and media organizations, we are blocking those cameras.
All right. I am Clement Sane, working for Foreign newspaper and also for Vex News. My question will be a follow-up to the Minister in regards to the Public Order Act. Your predecessor, Minister Gambia has tabled this bill before the National Assembly to repeal the Public Order Act. It was withdrawn from the Parliament. Up to today, the public didn't know what was the rationale behind the withdrawal of the repeal of the Public Order Act. And you need to tell the public, because this has been a concern. And the follow-up question is regarding about the issue of the AKI victims. Government has a responsibility to protect lives and properties of the Gambian citizens, and once life is lost, then there's a criminal element in people failing in their responsibility. Why did the government wait for the victims' families to pick up the matter when government could have protected their citizens by instituting a criminal charges against anybody who was found wanting about the AKI victims, rather than just suspending or expelling medical pharmaceutical council, I don't know, their director, rather than actually taking a legal action for his negligence or whatever?
I don't know the reason for the withdrawal of the bill to repeal the Public Order Act. I'm afraid probably I can find out, because nobody have ever briefed me the reason for the withdrawal, so I couldn't speak to that. AKI, like I said, a process was going on. But people have the right to go to court anytime they feel like. Probably they think government process is slow. And that we are not embarrassed to admit to that. Government processes, even in the developed world, sometimes can be painstaking. This is a hard fact. Governments don't operate like a private company. So many things have to go through so many processes. And sometimes it's true. Not only even AKI victims, even the victims of Jammeh. The transitional justice, some believe that is going very slow. But we are doing what we can do and our best under the circumstances. And I wish any one of you will be sitting on the chair that I'm sitting. You will face the same challenges, right? So sometimes we wish things to happen, but we cannot get them to happen at the pace at which we want it. And because of processes, because government have a design system, have processes, have laws, have a lot of regulations that need to be followed. And some of these things, some don't happen the way overnight. So processes were underway, like I said. There were even negotiations that started. I can even go to an extent to tell you there was a budget line to start compensating the victims. But they declined the offer that was made by government, and they choose to claim higher amounts in court. Once they go to court, we are now bound to go with them to court and wait and see the outcome of the court. We couldn't do much. But we continue with our other bilateral engagement, trying to engage the government of India, try to see how we get in touch with the company that is actually the company that manufactured these drugs until they found their way into the Gambia. So government is relentless. No government will lose kids, babies, and be complicit in the way you address that issue. Really. But like I tell you, this is the situation. We were doing what we can, but in the meantime, we were served with a suit from the courts. What do we have? We have no choice but to go to court and start defending the suit that we were served with. But there was a budget already allocated for compensation. But what we offered, they didn't accept it. They didn't even accept a part payment. So what else can you do?
How much was it? It's important.
Now, on top of my head, I cannot remember. That budget is with the Ministry of Health, not me. But Ministry of Health have informed me as the government lawyer that we have this much amount. Because I am the one that was talking to their lawyers, they've instructed me to negotiate. If I agree with them, Ministry of Health had a budget they are willing to pay. But in our negotiation with their lawyers, the gap was so high, so we couldn't agree. The next minute we were served.
Thank you. Yeah. Can I raise order? Person there? There. Yeah, lady.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexander from the Standard newspaper. My question is, what is government stance on the Assembly's recommendation for the executive to immediately suspend Bank Petroleum Manager, GALA? Because the recommendation from the National Assembly does not call for an investigation, but immediate suspension. Thank you.
I think this is the clarification we are trying to make. A resolution from the National Assembly to an executive, these are different organs of government. It's still a recommendation. And that recommendation needs to be investigated because these people have a contract. So you need to do further investigation and check and decide what is the best course of action. We need to understand, you see, if we want to be in civil society and we want to be advocates, we need to understand the relationship between organs of state. National Assembly does not necessarily dictate to the executive. When they pass a resolution and ask government to do something, it equivalent in law is a recommendation. Now, government need to look into that investigation and look at the evidence that National Assembly relied on to recommend that somebody should be sacked or somebody should be punished. So those investigations, I don't know, but those investigations were going on as far as I am aware. But from the legal point of view, I just want to clarify that it's not every recommendation from the National Assembly to the executive can be acted upon without further check. Because the recommendation is not law. This is one organ of state sending recommendation to another organ of state. It's not a court judgment.
So let's be clear. Besides the legal consideration, the charge against the General Manager, Gambia Petroleum, Mr. GALA, was that he was unfairly allocating storage space. We call it ullage, right? Now, to that extent of unfair treatment in the allocation of ullage, then that was the basis for the recommendation. Now, but the investigation and the substantive evidence that supports it was also quite weak because the statement have clearly addressed that to say at the time of allegation of unfair treatment, actually there was ample space on the, in the depot. About half of the space of the depot was occupied. Now, if that is the case, why also not make similar recommendation to the other private storage facility, where some of this oil also found its way anyway? So you said that you were this was unfair allocation of space, but these people were I mean at the time literally all OMC were boycotting the space. They were not going there, and that even when this gentleman was the one who initiated and make engagement to attract even half of the space that get occupied through his time. So he was desperately looking for people to come and patronize his space. But like I said, it's a recommendation, and like as the General has said, not all recommendations are binding. But the state have responsibility to look into it and on the benefit of the merits, then address it.
Let me clarify one thing. If you just 1 second, let me clarify something. If you look at the the schedule of the National Assembly for this September session, which has been published. Some of those recommendations, they have listed the ministers concerned to come and respond. Because in their own standing orders, when they make such resolutions, whoever has been adversely mentioned in those resolutions, you are entitled to respond. All right? So if you look at the September session, in their schedules, ministers have been listed to come and respond to some of those resolutions that were made. That shows that even after the resolution, National Assembly itself knows that there is room that the person that has been adversely mentioned could make a reply, and based on that reply, in fact, their position could change. So you don't expect that once a resolution is passed, it will be implemented. Some of these resolutions need further investigation, whether the allegations are substantiated or not.
Next question. Oh, sorry. No. Next question, please.
National Assembly recommended that because he was giving out depot spaces.
No, that's not me. I don't know about that.
Okay, next question.
They also accused him of receiving 600,000 every month from
Is it done or you're done? No.
Was that stated in the report? No. Was that stated in the report? Did you read the report? No, it's not there.
All right, next question. Next question, your name and media organization. Which one? No, we have to balance, that side, and then we go back to the other. We have to balance both sides. Aisha, give it mic, and then we go to the other side. We have to balance, Let's be considerate. One question to other colleagues. Here it's very crowded today. We have full house today. Remember, go ahead, your name and media organization and question.
Thank you very much. My name is Momo Dane from the KMC Community Radio. I will start from the Minister of Finance. He made mention that the government is ready and committed to having dialogue with young people. But my question will go to the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. We are having 38 young people.
So wait. You said where are you from?
KMC Community Radio.
It's a registered radio station.
We have to have questions based on today's.
That question.
No, I'm asking, is it a registered community radio?
Well, you should help with that.
I should help.
It's not me.
Next question.
So my question.
No, wait, before you ask your question, let's clarify this first. If it's online, you can call it KMC Online Radio.
KMC Online Radio. So my question will go to the Minister of Justice, even though I will pick from the Minister of Finance, and the government is committed to having dialogue with young people before they resort to the streets, which is commendable. So I want to ask the Justice Minister, because currently we have about 38 young people. 23 are being granted bail from the court, and the other 15 from under the police. Is the government ready to drop all these charges levied against these young people, to have a dialogue with them in order to complement the efforts of the government?
Where were you? The question was answered by the Chief of Staff. Honorable Chief of Staff answered the question. Okay. Next to the other side. Your name on it. It's already been answered by the Honorable Chief of Staff. Okay. Give chance to the other one. Let's maintain some decorum now, please. I know one or two aberrations are inevitable, but let's go ahead. Go ahead. The guy holding the mic. Go ahead. Ask the question. Go ahead. Ask the question.
It's okay. It's all right. Let him see. He just needs to understand that.
Because he part of those that used it away arrested people in myself.
Yeah, but
it's okay. Let's
ask the question, please.
It's all right. I mean, let him stay. Where is he? Don't take him out. Let him stay. We just need to talk to each other as brothers, no temper. What we told the questionnaire, maybe we were not speaking the mic, is the question was answered before.
No, he said he cannot answer the question. The Justice Minister will come and step in and answer. That's what he said.
No. I was here when the question was answered. Myself, I was in the room. When I just came in, I was sitting over there. And he answered. But anyway, what's your question? Repeat it.
I am saying,
yes,
we have about 38 young people.
Yes.
Currently.
Yes.
Who are battling with the law.
Yes.
We have 23 that have been granted bail from the courts, and another 15 from the police. Whether the government is ready to drop all the charges, levied on these young people in order to have a dialogue in complementing the efforts of the government?
Why not? It's on the table. Nothing is off the table. Let's just continue dialogue. Yeah.
Thank you.
I answered you. I said there's no reason why we should not.
Why?
Can I come in?
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Moulani Diouf. My name is Victor FM Radio. Si state minister bi bëggoon naa laajte li nga doon wax taxawaay réewi Gambie si àdduna si ak ni ñu ko xoolee si ñëwee si wàllu corruption ak kookaat bi wax nga mention nga ranking bi nga xamante ne Gambia am na ko waaye suñu ñëwaatee si biir réew mi góom-góom bu ñenn ci réew mi am mooy nguur bi dafa doon nguur boo xamante ne dafa jàppante ak corruption audit report yi ñuy génn jaane commission bi xale na liggéeyam xale ñu bi ñu koo gëstuwaat because dañ yaakaar ne xale li jàmm bi sax dañ ko séetoo bokk ci diggante nit nguur ñi tey naka nga mën a reconcile ranking bi ak global level ak perception bi back home so loolu mooy question la jërëjëf.
jërëjëf si question boobu li ñu mën a wax rek mooy ne corruption is not absolutely measured. Perception ngay natta perception yi dëkk bi ak perception yi ñoo xam ne that is done by an organization called Transparency International. So ñoom seen sarta yi ñoo xool pour identify lanay corruption ak the local context daf dee ute. So soo gisee ñu bare ñu ngi wax ne affaire corruption léegi is rampant is because government is actively disclosing this information. Most of these corruption cases are not immediate, they are past events. So I think that is, and having such a discourse, warning that the government is ready. And there is no corrupt-free country that I know of. It's just the magnitude and the degree. And this level of dialogue is important. So Transparency International, loolu la aduna fi yépp ràññee si measurement of corruption. National perception daf dee ute ak international, so you cannot marry the two. They are like apple and oranges. All right? I hope I answered. Thank you.
Thank you. You have about 20 minutes to wrap up. Questions? And then gender balance, we have one or two more questions. Okay. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Name, media organization.
My name is Nelson Mane from Korea Newspaper. I have two questions that I want to ask. The first one has to do with the medical lab. We want to know the exact state of the medical lab and when will it start functioning. The second one has to do with the SOEs, the state-owned enterprise. There is an ongoing trend that the SOEs are now being privatized, and the most recent one is GAMSA. GAMSA in an interview said the government is not spending on it, and that is why when most of the GSM operators were having 4, 5Gs, they were still in 2G. And this has made them to have more expenditure than the income they generated. We want to know what is the government's stake, why is the trend going that way, that the SOEs, the state-owned enterprises, are now being privatized.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we need to have a good foundation. Privatization is different from a concession. They may sound technical, but privatization means government selling its shares, its ownership rights. It's different from, like people claim, we have privatized the port. The port has not been privatized. The concession is a partnership between a government and a private operator to do a certain activity. The ownership rights of Gambia Port Authority has not been diluted. the concession partner in the government, in the ports concession, has no shareholder rights in the Gambia Ports Authority. All the rights are within the concession to manage the ports and invest in the deep sea port of Sanyang for a period of time. Immediately that period lapses, the asset will reflow back to the state. Ownership has not changed. And the issue of Gamtel's performance. Gamtel, I mean, is a limited liability company owned and managed independently. We all know if you are like an adult, it's just like a case of a child in a house. Your father or your parents schooled you, put you in a job market, educate you. You say, but now I cannot find a job as such. What do I do? You should have helped me. The management of any public enterprise has unfettered access to raise resources, to invest, to manage. Failure to do so, do you expect government to, because that's the difference. You cannot take public resources and put it to SOEs for their continued survival. The management and the board of the SOEs should go to the market, raise resources, and invest for their continuity. That's what their private sector counterparts have done. They did not sit down and say, our shareholders have given us this much, the market is changing, and what do we do? They have gone to the market, borrow, invest, and grow, or do other management efforts to further their objectives. So if a state-owned enterprise has operational issues, they are independent. It is for them, they have, in fact, as we speak, it's a very funny situation. Because in the same sector, you are operating, your competition is operating. All the Gamcel or Gamtel is the lead, is the backbone of the digital system in the country. How come the private sector are able to be more efficient? And they are free to do as they deem. There was no government, of course, legacy issues are there, but under this current dispensation, I'm not aware of government interference. Instead, in fact, government has facilitated certain things by even trying to borrow. For some of them, the loans government have taken for their expansion, like Gamtel, the Eco One. Government today, as we speak, is financing those loans. That's the whole fact. If, for example, you have contracted a loan, you are a limited liability company, you are a state-owned enterprise, you should be able to finance it. Part of the debt stock of government is not the direct borrowing of the government alone. Because government was the guarantor, if they did not pay, government is coming in to pay. The Eco One is not serviced by any of the Gambians. It is the government of the Gambia that is adding it to its debt stock and servicing the debt. So I hope I'm clear on this, and we are more than happy. The concession arrangement, we are not privatizing, and as we speak today, the net worth of Gamtel is not an asset, it's a liability. The liabilities exceed the asset base. I can safely say that for Gamcel particularly, for 3 months in a row, we were taking from our public purse to pay their staff. It was that bad. So government, these are all management concessions government is doing to help bring about efficiency. We all know the Ports Authority is a case in point. If you look at the congestion that was happening there before this concession, ships, any container bound for Banjul has an automatic congestion charge. Ships were bathing at sea for more than 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. In fact, that's why shipments to Gambia used to take months. But with the concession coming on board, there is no waiting time at the port of Banjul. And that's why it has even started reflecting in the price of goods. I'm sure we all notice how much a bag of rice is. It has not gone down a lot, but it has gone down. It's not even going up. All this... Yes, we know. No, it depends on the quality of rice. If you, no, I bought too. I mean, the country. I'm just explaining the price of goods have not gone up that much. If you buy an American rice, That one is what everybody buys, including myself. I went to the market, and this is not a make-up story. And I asked, at the turntable, I asked, he says it's 2070. I said, but the last time it was 2,200. What has happened? He said, no, what the Hawaii. This is a transaction I conducted myself. At the turntable, there is a sub there. I'm just speaking from my own experience. I'm not making it up. Yes, so these are facts. All of these, and that's not the only one. There are a lot of other efficiency gains the concession is bringing in. So I hope I'm clear on that. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Quickly on the medical lab, I read from the ministry. Medical lab is almost ready. Most of the equipment. You know where the medical lab is, by the way? Burusube. How is it? It's good. It's nice, huh? Wonderful.
You should go for a visit. Contact the Ministry of Health.
Medical lab is almost ready. Most of the equipment is purchased and in country. For early next year, the lab will be in use and operational. Closing date for the current contract is December 31st.
Thank you very much, Chief. You understand? We have 10 more minutes to go. Everybody talk about bag of rice. We are mono drinkers. So I think our price is fine. We are fine with porridge. One or two more questions. From this end and from this end?
No, it's from this end.
All right. You also have the mic on it.
Okay. My name is Lagun Sise. I work with the Gambia Journal. The Honorable Justice Minister has been saying that the National Assembly resolution or recommendation is not binding. But what the minister is not telling us is whether the government is investigating these ministers. Is the government investigating these ministers based on the recommendation or resolution from the National Assembly? And second question is, the AKI victims. We all know this government, they barely, obey the court orders. I can give you example of Alaji Bora's case, Nela Fidagome's case, and also Omar Lamisi's case. The government, the courts made orders, but the government is still insisting, in fact, refusing to actually, accept court orders. Is the government ready to pay these victims the amount or the cost that is going to be awarded against the government? Because you people have been in negotiation with the families, but no actual agreement has been made. Is the government ready to pay the victims the actual amount awarded against the government? Thank you.
Nothing has been awarded.
No, I mean, after the case.
Okay, let's wait for the... Okay, so you are asking if they prevail in the court, whether we will honor the judgment. Yes, government is committed to honor all judgments entered against it that has not been appealed and set aside. But, however, again, like I said, from outside you may not understand, and that's why these dialogues are important. We have a queue of judgments to settle. We have a queue of judgments. Now, I'm telling you, I'm being very real. So judgments are paid based on how they come. Because these things are budgeted. I mean, National Assembly, you can talk to them. There are budget lines on the Ministry of Finance for settlement of judgments that are entered against the government. You can have judgments locally, you can have judgments sometimes even in international arbitration courts and things like that. So they are paid as they come, depending on how the budget can sustain them. So, but there is no deliberate, in fact, if you check with the ECOWAS Community Court, let me just say that Gambia is on the top of the countries in the whole of ECOWAS region for honoring judgments, monetary judgments awarded by the ECOWAS Community Court. And these are paid to Gambians. Gambians who took the Gambia government to the ECOWAS Community Court. Of course, most of the issues they took the government to court for are Jammeh-related human rights violations. But when they prevail, we pay them, and we still pay. So when you have a subsisting valid judgment, monetary, government will pay. It's coming from all of our money, all of us. It's the taxpayers' money. So if your judgment is valid and is monetary, one day you will get your money. So, but with AKI, that's your question specific to that. Of course, yes. The reason why we are in court, if they prevail, we will respect the judgment.
The other side?
Yes. Follow up to that?
Follow up,
yeah, why not?
Name and media organization?
ECOWAS ranked us as one state that...
Compliance with their judgments.
Is that compliance to ECOWAS court judgment?
That's what I'm saying. ECOWAS community court judgments.
We're talking about our courts.
That's what I'm telling you.
So we are talking about our courts, not what ECOWAS court gives us, because we don't have a choice with the ECOWAS court. It's either you pay or you pay your fees and they will remove it from it. We are saying our local court judgment.
Okay.
Our local court judgment. Are we respecting the judgment and the findings and paying it? Because Pamolu is an example, and a lot more examples. That's what we are talking about. We're not talking about the ECOWAS judge. Let's localize the conversation now.
So, with Pamodu's case, do you know that it has been appealed? There was instruction to have the matter appealed, so we need to check that. Well, what I'm saying, you are right. There's a distinction between domestic court judgments and ECOWAS court judgment. But you are wrong in saying that we don't have an option with ECOWAS court. In fact, enforcement of the ECOWAS court judgment on a sovereign country is even more difficult. Because if we don't pay, there's nothing they can do. Enforcing a judgment against a sovereign state is even more difficult than the domestic ones. So it's not that we are compliant with payment of ECOWAS court judgment because we don't have an option. No. It's the character of this government I'm trying to show, that we are willing and ready to comply with valid court judgments, domestically or internationally. And we've already made a record at the international stage, and we are doing our best to comply with almost all the domestic court judgments.
Thank you. This way.
Time is up.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it? Yes. That is what is leading to all this dialogue. In our preparation of this statement that was delivered by the Honorable Minister for Finance, we looked at every single allegation contained in that resolution. But like I told you, we go through them, look at the evidence that the National Assembly had access to, and their conclusions vis-a-vis what is the other evidence that they might not even have seen. So yes, government is looking into it. Sure. We don't just say it's a recommendation, so we put it aside. No.
So if they are found wanted?
Naturally, this government, President Barrow had made a statement that there's not going to be he's not going to be anybody's godfather with respect to these issues.
Thank you.
Yes. Your name, media organization.
Nañu ka follow ba telementi wala Minister of Finance Birabo Lorin Jam ay tan jelo ko game masakunda ni India masakunda kata so kata pour kaje iba case file la nyame ni badene mi le boru na tan je mi le boru ni da so man factory so I like to know development ni be nyade because case ni kete kan 2022 ari e ka fanya justice delay is justice delay 3 years hansa kese mambo jaba wala ko ko anim fana corruption wala issue ngajal fana audit case I made that becoming a baby then accountability wala konti boro karum ko moni niaji ke dismiss le ye dimo wara to prosecute dol ke for sure retirement but ni be mu active measures adu masakunda e katama baake ni wala proactive measures so mbal la fa kalon ko mun simpanya le be pour ka corruption wala ko although ita eradicate but ka mitigate kenne pour ala ko ci kala karum ni million jama be ka fil banko kam you cannot afford money sorando mani president ye pade waranto ye na fin di son yes sentence but as a prevent no kenne
I should explain
in Mandinka or English?
Yeah.
Okay. Yala nyini karo kumata bake. In fact, nyina formu na malam de na formu. Nyina formu na nyankot because nga menjube masakunda mala fi drong puru ala banku dingol sibla katako. Because hadamadi mantimba. So wala nang ferol landi ka falendiro ke masakunda la nafulo tamande nyaato. Nundo ni tata immigration passport e ka kodo jo kasiale visa e wote kere. Ni tata e ka jo banque. Ni tata lands e ka jo banque. Ni tata RVTH nunto kasiale be e ka kodo kole. Sa in banque le beje. So lafta mikela wala minti ko follow ni lafta kay ila banko dingol tanka iki tanka katale follow wala minti yela do ko bundal falin nyala me alonko mol bulote tukla kodoma so masakunda la tamadri nya falenta wol bi ni data giare ici la clearance beke e misimo lo ports ime singlo jiare ini custom officer man nyoji na pareta system moy assess yeta banque yajo wulbele beje pour ka mol makoy kama sakunda makoy ka tamar dinya fali masan nala nafulo o mo kilindi fulan jango nunto nin ko kete kapin saim buka so wala akere wato men nam bota kala man simo kije internal audit be ministerial beto auditor general fanala do ko ba tamandika anu nundo audit report ol kanale yetara palri ku buka keje bar saim men kake audit report be fundila dron mesilo momoron di ni e to safeje ngawolle to safejante ko masakunda ka simfal bentaje ku jamal fundita ja manke ko molliya fonde mum tol fangol la do ku nya wala o fali wala na ko wol nata funti annon say ngam memuta an ko president ya fo nyame mote keri min sa fo ko abe tankandela ni e menje dron ibe tamela kitiyo nyaati wala loi men fo o loi tama so walantina ngana hani public finance management mba falinkan be loi kutol samba kanna pour ka jeko masakunda la tamandirnya na folo la tamandirnya be fali isaje ko ni tata tuwa do neaje tuwa bula corruption mansia ni tata tuwa do ini ma molka menke pour ka kodo tambini nyobula bukasia mfana la to sifa le dundi la jam so wolda mate kering ani mfana audit be kering ne fual be falinkan ne ani ni ajube digitalization. You understand it? So, Abola Nyam. I hope. Yes.
Wait. I mean, do you want to summarize in English?
In English?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All I'm trying to say, this is a very good question. Our objective to fight corruption is by building institutions and reforming processes and procedures of managing public finances. We have to protect our citizens. Because every human being is fragile, is amenable to make mistakes. Some of these cases, with hindsight, they could have been avoided. It was because of the way the systems were designed. Now we have gone on to reform the entire government financial management system. In fact, I can safely say in the next few, if it is not already happening, a directive has been issued to eliminate all cashier positions. No longer will any public revenue transaction be handled by a cashier. Even if it is happening, know that it has not yet got there. But we want to ensure that every payment is online, if we get there, or you pay it to a bank, so as to prevent citizens from having the temptation. Because it's sometimes, let me give a simple example. You are collecting millions, and your salary is, let's say, 5,000. And you have financial problems. It's very human that every day you take $10, I'll fix it tomorrow, thinking that you can make it up. By the time you realize it, it has ballooned to a large amount. That's why we are changing our public financial management systems to ensure that people do not have access to public resources. Our procurement laws have been revised to ensure that procurement is further enhanced. And we did not just do this in isolation. We took a holistic review of public financial management system and vulnerabilities. These include changing the procedures, changing the legal framework. That's why the public financial management has been changed. And we are very pleased, even if you look at the performance of the revenue collection, all is a reflection of the changes that are being put in place. And I can tell you, some of these changes are not easy to institute. The credit goes to the president himself, because in instituting some of these changes, they are so difficult that the people who are there right now will put up every resistance for it not to take place. But the president is unwavering. He said he has zero tolerance to corruption, and that's why he has instructed us to proactively deter and prevent corruption. The internal audit is working actively, the Auditor General reports, and all these things, like for example, we can pull out some of the cases. Some of them have been discovered at our own instigation. It's not it's the whole mechanism of review and processes that we've put in place. It's a work in progress, but we are slowly getting there. And I think it is incumbent on any citizen, if you see something wrong, report it, say it, and action will be taken. Thank you.
Second question.
What's the second?
Level of engagement with the Indian government.
Oh, Indian government is not my area. I cannot.
Justice answered already. There'll be maybe also in Mandinka.